Okay, I'm back. Enough music. No more partying. Anybody name that tune? In case you didn't, it's Putting on the Ritz. It's kind of the mood I'm in after today's email that I got from the Massachusetts Attorney General's office. Wow. Um, it's a mix. It's kind of mixed. I have mixed feelings. But I'm going to get to it. I know that uh, this stuff, towns and politics, will make you nuts. Um, I don't know. So, why I'm here today? I am here today because, well, first of all, let's get back to the beginning. I have been missing in action, haven't I? This is my first video, I think, in over a month. I might have snuck in a short at some point, but nothing monumental. There's been a lot going on, but I have been so busy. I'm out straight. Um, I don't know if I think I've mentioned on here that I'm a beekeeper, and my bees are driving me completely batshit. It's the end of the season. It's September. There's a lot of stuff we have to do to make sure our bees make it through winter. And at this point, I don't know if I'm going to make it through winter. I've replaced 3 queens. I just, I think they're spitting out eggs now. Hopefully enough to get them through winter. I'm just gonna no, I'm not gonna babble on about beekeeping. But that's one big reason I haven't been around doing videos. Haven't had time. And I don't have time now, but this is important. I gotta catch up. There's a lot happening. I'm gonna go into today's video. This video now, I should say, is about an open meeting law complaint that I filed against the Board of Selectmen back in April. And I'm going to get to that in a moment. But I also want to say there's a lot of things going on coming in the very soon future, if that's proper English or not. But we have a special town meeting next Thursday, which is the 25th of September, 2025. And I'm going to be doing a video on that warrant to go over all the articles. Some of them I support, some of them I absolutely do not. I should say, yeah, some of them I absolutely do not. And there's one that, nah, I'm against it, but if you want it. But anyway, I'm not going to get into that video right now. I'm going to do that later on, maybe tomorrow. Depends on how my bees. It depends on what happens when I go into one of the beehives tomorrow and how much time I have. So, and I'm getting over a cold. I was literally sick in bed for 2 days, Sunday and Monday. Today is Tuesday evening when I'm doing this video. My throat's a little scratchy. Sunday and Monday, sore throat. Oh my gosh. Now I got a runny nose. It's too much information, I know, but I'm just piling on the excuses as to why I haven't been around. But yeah, I'm really sick. I'm getting over. I did a COVID test. It wasn't COVID. That's the first thing people ask me. Was it COVID? No. Cold. It was just a cold. I took a COVID test. It was not COVID. I think I felt worse this weekend than I did when I did have COVID. Wow, cold. I haven't had too many colds because I really wasn't going out a lot, and I guess I've been out in the public a lot in the last few days, trying to do things for my bees. But that's what beekeepers do. We can't stop talking about bees. But yeah. So I got sick, and Saturday night I started getting sick, and Sunday and Monday I really was stuck in bed. I couldn't do much. I never got dressed. Nothing. Boy. So here I am. I'm going to be discussing this open meeting law complaint and subsequent determination by the Attorney General's office that our Board of Selectmen did, in fact, pretty badly violate the open meeting law. And this is probably the worst one I've done. I've thought that I had some really bad ones, and even the ones that were determined in the past that weren't good ones. But this one's really bad. And I'm going to get into the reasons why and why I want you to pay attention. I would like you to listen to this entire video. And if you've been following stuff, if you've been going to town meeting, if you're one of them, or if you just follow my videos, or you kind of know what's going on around Townsend and just the scuttlebutt, you'll want to hear this determination, and you want to hear what I have to say about it and why I think it's really bad. I mean, it's bad as far as the Attorney General goes, but it's really bad as far as transparency and the impact that this violation had and continues to have on the taxpayers, voters, employees, and anybody that has anything to do with the town of Townsend. That's why I think this is particularly bad. I don't think the selectmen get it, but what I'm going to do, my nose itches. Blow your nose enough times and your nose starts to itch. So anyway, yeah, I'm going to pull up the Attorney General's determination, and we're going to go through it line by line. It's pretty quick, but I'm going to stop and give commentary. Yes, I know, I'll keep talking. Don't worry. Oh, nobody wants me to talk. Come on, that's what I'm here for. I've got a YouTube channel. I talk. Okay, let me pull this up. Oh, that's not what I want. There it is. Boy, they changed this around. I haven't been on here in so long. I use a program called StreamYard to do my videos, and I haven't been on in a month. And they've got all these changes, which are good. I just can't figure out everything. Okay. What I'm going to do, all right, I'm going to keep myself there, but I got to pull this up in real time over here. So I can't see you. Not that I can see you anyway, but I'm going to read this. Just received this today. Today is September 16th, 2025. And this is the open meeting law complaints. It's plural. We'll get to that. This is the one, yeah, this is, well, I will get to that. But I'm going to tear this apart a little bit to show you so you'll see what this stuff is. Now, this letter from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Office of the Attorney General is addressed to Samantha Vasquez, Esquire, of Mead, Tallerman, and Costa, LLC. And that is, Samantha Vasquez, I'm stuttering over pronouncing her name properly. Anyway, excuse me, it's Vasquez. There, it's better. I got it all in one sentence. So this is our town council firm. It's not, we don't just have one town council. We have Adam Costa is our primary guy. He spends most of the time in Townsend. But Samantha Vasquez is in the New Medford office, apparently. And she handles open meeting law complaints. And let me tell you, she really spits it out. She's not very friendly when she's responding to open meeting law complaints on behalf of the town. She really tries to cut you off at your knees. And I'm not going to bore you. I mean, maybe someday I'll do a video just on Samantha Vasquez's responses to open meeting law complaints, because she can be nasty. And anyway, wow. So yeah, she's the attorney in the law firm that has the duty of responding to open meeting law complaints. I'm going to guess that this is probably one of those jobs that new attorneys get, but I could be wrong. I could be a complete jerk here. She could be seasoned and likes doing open meeting law complaints. I don't know. Sure, she's probably going to quit and go become a trial lawyer, because that's probably more fun. Anyway, no, I'm digressing. Sorry. Okay, let's go down this now. It says regarding open meeting law complaints, plural. That's because there were more than one persons filed open meeting law complaints regarding this one meeting. Okay? In April 29th. All right. Dear Attorney Vasquez, this office received a complaint from Cindy King on June 17th, 2025. Yes, it takes them a while to get through these things. I wish they had responded immediately, because it would have saved a lot of aggravation in this town, let me tell you. Okay, and a complaint from Harrison Mayotte. Know that name? He's our town clerk. He had just been elected when this all went down. And he filed his first duty was to file an open meeting law complaint against the Board of Selectmen. How about that? Okay, all right, select board, we're calling them that now. Okay, they violated the open meeting law, blah, blah, blah. Mr. Mayott's complaint was originally filed with the board on April 30th. And you responded, said Sam, on behalf of the board by letter dated May 20th. Ms. King's complaint was originally filed with the board on or about May 6th. And you responded on behalf of the board on May 27th. Both complaints allege that the board discussed a matter that was not appropriate for executive session during a meeting held on April 29th. Now, I'm going to explain a little bit about, Harrison, he jumped right out of bed and did his open meeting law complaint. He couldn't get that out fast enough, apparently. Those are my words, not his. Okay. So he got right out. The next day, that complaint was sent to the board. Well, I like to pace myself. I need to think about it. I want to put my letter together, and I always like to include video. Not necessarily my video. I like to use the town's evidence against them. The town does a video, as you know, most of the time. Sometimes they don't, which is why I have a YouTube channel. But they've been pretty good lately about getting videos up. But so when I do an open meeting law complaint, which unfortunately has been more often than I care to think about, is that I like to use the town's video to send as a link in my open meeting law complaint to the Attorney General or even to the board. Here's your own video of what transpired at this meeting. And that's why I wait, because you have like 30 days. So no rush. They're not going to, the world isn't going to fall apart if I wait 29. But on May 6th, I did, on May 6th, I filed mine, which is about 7 days later. And I had the video, I'm sure I did. And I sent the video. I think parts of the video. Yes, because I think I sent them both my link and the link to the town's video, because I went to this meeting and I waited. When they went into executive session, I waited out in the hall for over an hour and a half for them to finish their business. And so I may have recorded some of it that was sent in. I don't remember. I'd have to go back and look, and it's not worth the time. But I like to pace myself and put my letter together as completely as I think I can, and try to get a little. Oops! What the hell did I just do? Okay. Yeah, I think you can still see that. That's too much. Okay. I try to get a little bit away from the emotion, so that I've got a clear head and I'm not just rashly complaining about the board. I want to try to stick to the facts. I don't stick to the facts as good as a lot of lawyers do, but that's why I wait. I just take my time getting the complaint in. Sometimes I can't get it out fast enough, but I just pace myself. Okay. The Attorney General stated, following our review, we find that the board violated the open meeting law in the way alleged. So we were right. Our open meeting law complaints were pretty similar in the content, so they could easily put these two together. In reaching this determination, we reviewed the original complaints, the board's responses to the complaints, and the complaints filed with our office requesting further review, because there's multiple steps. There's 3 steps to an open meeting law complaint. And so everybody's writing letters. All right. So in addition, we reviewed the notice, which is the posted agenda, open. Oh, I guess there's executive session minutes were submitted. That's weird. Because they didn't post. Oh, because they're not. I don't know. I got to talk to Harrison about this. In addition, we reviewed the notice and the open and executive session minutes of the board meeting held on April 29th, as well as a video recording of that meeting. I have to go back. I don't think they voted on any minutes. This must be draft. They must have done draft minutes. I can't wait to see this because, well, we'll get there. As well as a video recording of that meeting, too. The all dates in this. Okay. A recording of the board's April 29th meeting is available at this YouTube channel. I'm thinking that's probably the town's YouTube channel, not mine. All right. Facts. We find the facts as follows. Oh. The board duly posted notice for a meeting to be held on April 29th at 6 p.m. The notice listed 6 main topics, one of which was an executive session pursuant to Purpose 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining if an open meeting may have detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the public body, and the chair so declares. On the agenda was they were going to go into executive session and discuss something. Discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining regarding the clerical union, the supervisors union, the highway water union, the police union, and the fire union. Good for them. Okay, the April 29th meeting was held as planned. The board first convened an open session at 6 p.m. and discussed several topics. At 8:26 p.m., board chair Laura Schifrin announced that the board would convene an executive session and then reconvene an open session following the conclusion of the executive session. Board member Valerie Goodrich made a motion, which was seconded by board member Veronica Kell, to enter executive session to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining if an open meeting may have detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the public body, and the chair so declares. Clerical union, blah, blah, blah. The minutes of the April 29th meeting record that the board unanimously voted by roll call to convene an executive session. Hold that thought. Remember that. The minutes that the board unanimously voted by roll call. They didn't just vote. They voted by roll call. That's what they put in the minutes. Guess what? We're going to get to that. Okay. The board has not publicly released the minutes of the executive session, and therefore we do not recount their content in detail here. However, we note that the board discussed the town's budget and ways to reduce it. Which the board was, I can just go a little bit backwards here and say that, yeah, they were very proud of the fact that they were going to go into executive session. In fact, they did it in a couple more meetings after this one. And they claimed that legal counsel, their labor counsel, told them they had to do it this way. That's what they claim. Never heard any lawyer tell them that, but they said the lawyer told them that. We shall see what they're going to say next. All right, the board remained in executive session for about 1 hour and 30 minutes. I can say that. I was out in the hallway watching movies on my iPad. I'm glad I brought my iPad that night. I remember saying that. Okay, reconvened an open session at 10:08 p.m. After conclusion of the executive session, Chair Schifrin announced that the board had a work session on the budget that we are going to now vote on that will be presented, end quote, at the annual town meeting on May 6th. Board member Kell then made 10 separate motions, 10, which were seconded by board member Valerie Goodrich to approve 10 specific budgets for fiscal year 2026. All motions were approved by majority vote. All right, discussion. This is where the AG's office lets them have it. The open meeting law was enacted to eliminate much of the secrecy surrounding deliberations and decisions on which public policy is based. The law requires that all meetings of a public body be conducted in an open session with some exceptions. A public body may enter an executive or closed session for any of 10 purposes enumerated in the open meeting law, provided that it has first convened an open session, that a majority of the members have voted to go into executive session, that the vote of each member is recorded by roll call and entered into the minutes, and the chair has publicly announced whether the open session will convene at the conclusion of the executive session. Okay, One permissible reason to convene an executive session is to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting, I'm going to highlight this, if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and we're going to say and here, and the chair so declares. When meeting in executive session, a public body may only address subjects related to the narrow executive session purpose the public body cited when entering the executive session. Now, I'm skipping over a lot of this case law. Some of these are actual case laws that went to the appeals court. And some of these are not just further, I mean, some of the references in this that I'm skipping over are court cases on this issue. And some of these are just previous open meeting law determinations filed against other communities over the past however many years. This one here is a court case. Somebody went to court over it. Yeah, Sunderland didn't want to take no for an answer. Anyway, this is important here. Executive session may not be used as a blanket reason to deliberate on matters other than those pertaining to the specific purpose for which executive session was called. Public bodies are responsible for ensuring that when convened in executive session, they discuss only matters that are appropriate for executive session and for which they have provided notice to the public. We acknowledge that managing the flow of conversation can be difficult. Nevertheless, it is incumbent upon the public body to carefully monitor its executive session discussions to ensure that they do not stray from the lawful purpose for which the executive session was called. Now, I'm gonna stick on this couple of sentences here and support what the Attorney General has said here. And in that I am supporting anybody that's on a board or committee, and that when I file open meeting law complaints, I do not get so picky that I would file a complaint just because they kind of strayed. When you're having a conversation, you got multiple people in the room, and especially the people we have in there, they'll start talking. They're fine. They're on you got all these topics on your agenda, and then you kind of stray. You kind of, one thing leads to another. It's like going on the internet. God knows where you're going to end up if you start Googling things. But in a meeting, conversation, and somebody will bring up something that happened before, and in this, it gets into, well, Cindy did this, and then when we got there, oh, and then by the way, we have this other thing going on next week, and it's not none of this, but you kind of stray, and then someone will bring everybody back. Sometimes it's like a town administrator or somebody else, will remind them, can we get back on the topic at hand? Yeah, and they do, and they bring it together. And that's what the Attorney General is referring to here. It's like that it's fine if you stray and you bring it back. You can get a grip. And they didn't say it's fine, but I'm saying it's fine. Is it no fair-minded person would beat them up over straying briefly off topic. And I don't think the Attorney General in other determinations that I've seen and read have attacked boards for straying. I don't think they found against a town who strayed and came back and got their act together and said, okay, never mind, we're going to move on, back to topic. So this is what they're referring to. We acknowledge it can be difficult, and it can be, but you have to bring it back. That's not what happened in this case. They are not implying that the Board of Selectmen strayed. It's clear in watching the video when I'm there in person, and half the town knows this, and then looking at their intent was to go into executive session to discuss the budget. And they have been clear they have repeatedly stated it in public that they were doing that on purpose because they had to. Anyway, I'm digressing myself. Here we go. I'm straying. All right. The complaints challenge the propriety. This is, Get that, the complaints challenge, the propriety of the board's April 29th executive session discussions. Like, yes, what they're saying is we challenge the intent that they intended to violate, although they weren't hit with an intentional violation. They should have been, but The board contends that the discussions pertained to potential cuts to union positions and therefore were appropriate under Purpose 3. The Attorney General doesn't quite agree here. While it is reasonable to anticipate that some discussion of the budget would be part of a collective bargaining discussion of a more wide-ranging strategy that would reach beyond the noticed bargaining units is not appropriate for executive session, as such deliberations are more akin to a budget discussion. And I'm going to bring everybody back to April 29th, or that whole period of time. And some of the budget decisions that were made was about the trash contract. And that's one thing. And I think Harrison had brought that up specifically in his complaint, if I remember correctly. I haven't gone back to read it, so I'm trying to go by memory. And I think my memory tells me that, yep, he actually mentioned trash. I don't remember if I did. I think there were just so many other things. The trash was only one. But they discussed the major components of the budget. This was no mistake. And they said it. I mean, everything we're reading here tells us they said it. And if you recall, I remember this period of time. It was very upsetting. Our review of the as yet unreleased, I don't know if that's right, as yet unreleased, okay, executive session minutes, finds that the board's discussion did not relate to or involve strategy with respect to collective bargaining negotiations. Although we acknowledge that the board discussed some union positions. Rather, the board's discussions pertain to methods and tools it would use to balance the budget, and as such were related more to general budgetary matters. And they thought they confessed in all their responses because they felt above the law. Purpose 3 limits discussion to those topics directly related to strategy with respect to collective bargaining negotiations. What does that mean? Well, if you're in an executive session discussing about how we're going to address the police budget, I'm not picking on the police. I'm just grabbed that one. That just came into my mind. So then, and the budget's tight, and you go, Jesus, you're sitting in the Board of Selectmen behind closed doors, executive session, and you're trying to figure out how you're going to address the police negotiations. You got a contract. You want to do a contract, and I know this board wants to do right by the cops. They want to give them the world. I might be exaggerating, but you're sitting here with a bad budget and with no overrides, and we're broke. And what you want, one thing that somebody should be saying is level fund. We need to negotiate no raise. And that should have been, that's strategy. That's discussing budget and strategy. We need to approach the police with, I have no idea what they discussed regarding this contract because they haven't signed one. Because they're still, they got another meeting this week. But discussing as members of the board, this isn't going to go anywhere, but you discuss, one of your positions is no raise. We don't have any money. That's part of a discussion. That doesn't mean that's what we're going to end up with, but that's strategy. That's where the budget's limited in the discussion. We don't have any money. We can't afford to give them a raise. Even if at the end of the day, the person that even said that knows that we're going to end up giving them something, but we can't. We just don't have all this money to give all these raises. We're talking about laying people off. Well, the conversation would then, the strategy would be, what's strategy? Strategy when you're negotiating with anybody on anything includes things like, you got to make the other side think that whatever we want was their idea. Right? So you discuss how you're going to present options. You're not just going to put your whole thing on the table and it's like, hey, this is a package we think would be good for you. Here you go. And think you're done and you've done a good deed. No, because then they're going to come back. See, they're trained in negotiating more than our board of selectmen is. So they're going to come back and say, no, that's not enough. We want more, because that's how it works. So, but the strategy is discussing how, not just what your bottom line is, it's your strategy. How are you going to get the union to believe that they win? What, it doesn't matter who wins or loses. It's not a losing thing, but it's, I want the union to like, or even if they're going to be the one to suggest, we're going to say we can't afford to give you a raise. And they're going to go all the way to up to 5%. Oh, wait a minute. Well, now you got to work your way back, but you don't want to be on the losing side. Neither party wants to be in a position of giving something up. So the strategy is, how are we going to get to where we want to go? Not where we're just going to throw everything out on the table. That's strategy discussions. And you could offer things like things that don't cost any money or don't cost any real money. What kind of things don't cost any money? That's hard to do, but you got to be good at it. But that's strategy. Discussing the entire budget and say, we need to give the police a 5% raise. What part of the budget are we going to cut out? That's not allowed under strategy for budget negotiation. I mean, see, union negotiations, that is not what strategy for, that's not allowed. And that's what the Attorney General is explaining. Okay. As such, we find the board's discussion in executive session did not fit within the parameters of purpose 3, and the board therefore violated the open meeting law. Okay, now, although not specifically raised in the complaints, so they're adding violations. we didn't I remember noticing this when I was watching the video, but I didn't include it in my complaint. You only have so much space on the form. You have to fill out the form and you only get so much space. And I often fill it up. And I might not have had room to include this, but they did. They had all the room in the world to write this up. Although not specifically raised in the complaint, we note that it does not appear that the board properly convened in executive session during the April 29th meeting. What? They didn't even go into executive session properly. How about them apples? The open meeting law requires that prior to convening an executive session, a majority of the members of the public body vote by roll to go into executive session. Now, I know a few paragraphs back, we saw that in the minutes it said they did. Aha! After watching a video recording of the April 29th meeting, the board did not vote. The board did not vote to convene an executive session. Rather, a motion was made and seconded to convene an executive session, but the board never voted by roll call. Now, I don't know if, I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and watch. Did the board never thereafter voted by roll call? So I don't know if they didn't vote or they didn't vote by roll call. Now I'm second guessing. But either way, they didn't do it. We remind, there's another one coming. That's only one additional violation. We remind the board of its obligations under the law. They like saying that. In addition, we note that the minutes of the April 29th meeting reflect that a roll call vote was taken to convene, even though no vote actually occurred. Okay, that's what they just said. All right, I don't know. In addition, we note that the minutes of the April 29th, the minutes. Okay, the video, now this is where they lied in the minutes. The minutes of the meeting reflect that a roll call vote was taken to convene an executive session, even though no actual vote occurred. The open meeting law requires that a public body create and maintain accurate minutes of all meetings, including executive sessions, setting forth the date, time, place, the members present, a summary of the discussions on each subject, a list of documents and other exhibits used at the meeting, the decisions made, and the actions taken at each meeting, including the record of all votes. Well, they lied in the minutes. That's the open meeting. That's because that happens in open session, not executive session. The vote to go into executive session happens in open session. So that had to be in the regular minutes for the April 29th meeting, which I haven't read. I think I have that, but I haven't read them. Sorry. Okay. The members present, absent. Okay. Discussions and list of blah, 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 including the record of blah, blah. To be accurate, meeting minutes must accurately reflect the discussions and actions that took place during a meeting. Accurately. It didn't. Because the minutes must accurately capture the discussions and actions that actually took place, it is inappropriate to include information in meeting minutes that was not discussed or did not occur. You can't add things into the minutes to make people think you followed the law. No. See, they need to remember, whoever did these minutes, and if they voted, I know I did a big open meeting, a public records request for all these minutes, and I haven't even looked at them. But because it doesn't matter. I just want to get them, and then we'll go through them, and then compare to the meeting videos, and that's where they effed this up. They did not. Whoever did the minutes wasn't going by the video, and that's bad. Or they just went by what was supposed to happen. You can't do that today. Not when there's video cameras everywhere, especially when it's your own camera. They recorded this meeting. I did too, I guess. I got the video somewhere. I don't know. For the reasons stated above, we find that the board violated the open meeting law by discussing matters in executive session during a meeting on April 29th that were not appropriate for executive session. We order immediate and future compliance with the law's requirements, and we caution that similar future violations could be considered evidence of intent to violate the law. In addition, this is good. In addition, we order the board within 30 days of this letter to release executive session minutes of the meeting held on April 29th in their entirety and to notify our office that it has done so. The board may not redact or withhold the minutes in any way. And they added information here that says under normal circumstances. Basically, I'm changing the wording a little bit, but under normal circumstances, certain things can be redacted that meet certain lawful reasons. And what the Attorney General's office is saying here is there is no lawful reason in this situation because they've seen the executive session minutes already. So they said there is nothing there for you to redact or withhold. So they're telling the board you will release the executive session minutes in their entirety within 30 days and let the office know that you've done it. Now, the caution I have here is, excuse me, select board, you already sent through your attorney, through Sam Vasquez, sent in the executive session minutes to the Attorney General. When you release the executive session minutes to the public in 30 days, or within 30 days, you could do it tomorrow, within 30 days, they better be the same minutes. Because you know what I'm going to do? If they're not dated back whenever the response was, I'm going to send them off to the Attorney General and say, are these the same minutes that you saw? I didn't think, I read this kind of quickly earlier today, and I didn't think, as far as I knew, I didn't think that they had even done executive session minutes yet, which I don't know that they had. I'm thinking they sent, I got to look back over what I have Harrison is probably sitting at home going, "No, Cindy." He might know because I did a public records request, and he knows whether or not I got these already. I just don't know. But I mean, I wouldn't have the minutes anyway because they were not released. Now they're going to be. So, but I should know whether or not they exist. But and I apologize for not having my facts completely 100% on board right here. But yeah, they I got a feeling. I got to check, but I got a feeling that what was sent to the Attorney General were draft minutes, not even reviewed by the board. I could be wrong about that. I try to be honest, or I am as honest as possible. That I'm not 100% sure on who's on first here, but I got a funny feeling. They sent in draft minute. Sorry. Oh, okay, I'm talking too much, I guess. Okay. Carrie Kilcoyne, Assistant Attorney General, Division of Open Government. Okay. So, that's the open meeting law determination. Now, let me get to the video here. I'm going to take this down. And, okay, I paused for a second. I had to take a short break. This is not live. I'm going to be showing it. Well, it doesn't matter. It won't matter. I'm going to do some kind of, I forgot what it's called. I forgot what it's called. See, it's been so long since I've done a video. How weird. All right, now I'm going to talk to you about why I think this is so bad and the impact on the community, on transparency, and this cost the town a lot of money. And it caused a lot of problems with the taxpayers, the voters. We got some really upset people that have been upset since before April 29th. But shortly after this was all done. These meetings, because like I said before, there was more than one meeting that they pulled this stunt. But this was the one we just did one complaint. I think this was the only complaint that I filed on this specific issue. I got another complaint out there, I think, that's similar but different. Similar but different about how they wrote it on the agenda. They started getting lazy with the agenda then. Oh. But the townspeople, I'm not the only one that was watching this. And I'm sure I did a video and I talked about this, but I remember sitting at town meeting, must have been the first night, because our town meeting went from May 6th to almost the absolute end of the fiscal year. We didn't close our town meeting until the end of June, which is unheard of. And it's because of this BS. And the townspeople were very upset because we were not provided a complete budget. The Board of Selectmen refused to provide some of the detail in what they were intending to do with the budget because, we're in contract negotiations. We can't tell you. It's like, we're the voters. We don't have to vote either, do we? And that battle went on for the month and a half. And people at town meeting spoke out. I mean, John Barrett, our moderator, shut people down, but it's like, wrong answer, John. People spoke out and said, you violated open meeting law to discuss the budget in executive session. They said wording slightly different, but they said that. They complained that this was done behind closed doors. You're keeping things secret, you're working, and that's exactly what they were doing. And it had a horrible impact on the sense of trust that the taxpayers, that voters have to have just to get through town meeting. You can't when things get tough and people are angry and asking a lot of questions at town meeting, it's sometimes it's just a communication problem where you just need to explain things a little better. And sometimes it's because we don't trust you. You're hiding things. You're keeping things from us. And some of this has been going on for the last few years, but this was special. Like, you're actually admitting that you're going to executive session to discuss the budget and then not taking responsibility, but saying, town council told us to do it. I never heard town council say that. Well, maybe did Adam say anything like I don't remember. Oh, I don't know, but they were claiming that Labor Council told them that that's how they have to do it because they're in negotiations. And let me tell you, as many of you know, I was on the Board of Selectmen. Wasn't my favorite time. For those of you that know anything. Holy shit. But I forgot where I was going to go with that. See, I sidetracked myself. That wasn't good. I don't remember where I was going with that. But the presenting the budget, it doesn't work this way. It just doesn't work this way. You have to get this stuff out in the open. You have to present the budget in a way that is understood. And you can't do what they were doing. And having council tell you to violate the open meeting law and telling you it's legal is crazy. You just can't do it this way. And the attorney general just told them that in, like, I think there's 3 or 4 pages in that thing. How many pages? Let's see. Oh, I almost hit the wrong button. Oh, how many pages? Oh, no, I can't do it that way. Let's see. Oh, lots of them. 1, 2, 5. 5 pages. 5 pages. 5 pages of the attorney general telling the Board of Selectmen no. Yeah. So the town meeting, it's disturbing. After getting this determination by the attorney general and looking back to what we went through at town meeting and getting shut down when we tried to complain, and even by the time we got to the last night of town meeting, many of us were trying to speak out. John Barrett even tried to have Kim Craven removed because she was speaking out on this very topic that the secrecy has got to end. And oh my God, I mean, I was shocked. That's what, I left almost immediately after he was going to have Kim removed. I was like, yeah, we're all going to get arrested before the night's over. So I said, I'm done. It's just nothing's going to change. But I could feel the difference. The people that went to town meeting on that last night were ready to let the Board of Selectmen have whatever they wanted. And I kind of wish they hadn't. But when I look back, it's like the thing that disturbs me is that this chaos in trying to get through town meeting, and it was a food fight every night, and it was all about the budget. They kept putting off the budget questions in order to get everything else out of the way, and that was not it just made it worse, but was not going to get better. And then we had the alt finance committee, which was members of the finance committee and members of the public who got into their own little groupies and created an alternative budget. And that made things crazier. But the reason I'm not complaining about that, I'm saying that if the Board of Selectmen had not violated the open meeting law and not discussed the budget in executive session. Now I remember what I was going to say about being on the Board of Selectmen. No, I forgot it again. Oh my God. This is so funny. Oh, Oh, oh my God, I forgot again. Yes, I do remember that you can negotiate contracts while you're developing a budget because the budget can't be kept secret from the unions any more than it can anybody else in town. The budget is a real document, and the budget really matters. It makes it easier for the union to negotiate with the town more fairly. If they know what the budget is, I mean, a lot of our employees, in fact, I think most of our employees do not live in Townsend, so they're not impacted. They don't care less about the taxes in Townsend. They just want to get paid, and they're going to negotiate based on what their needs are. Which I'm not criticizing them. I'm just saying that's how it is. This is real world, and that's not a criticism. That's a fact. So, but when I was on the board, and for years before that, and since you, it's not. This is for in the last 200 years. I don't know when unions started in Townsend, but um, you think every year, every other year, every third year, every something year, there's another union contract being negotiated. There's a constant thing going on. And we've never had to go to executive session to discuss the budget in order to negotiate with the union. It's never happened. Because, well, one, it's not legal, obviously. But it was never a problem before that you talking openly about what the budget is. You just can't talk in open session about how you're going to handle the unions. You could certainly say we have serious challenges. We're going to have to, come up with negotiations that are going to clearly demonstrate our budget problems, that the budget problems are an integral part of the union negotiations. And if the select board, I'm assuming the select board are going to watch this video, but um, it helps. It actually helps if you're going into union negotiations, being clear with everybody about what the budget stance is helps. It helps the union say, well, we're not going to get 5%, guys. Um, maybe they, like I said earlier, when you're strategizing on the town side, you look at it and say, we don't have any money. We really prefer to have a no raise at all. Okay. So we got to make the union think it's their idea. That's strategize. That's normal. This is absolutely normal. So, and there's nothing unethical about it, or mean, or hiding, or secretive. It is secretive, but you, that's how you negotiate anything. That's the haggling. But you want them to be the ones that come up with the idea of a zero raise. They're not going to present that way, but they might know that that's probably coming. But because they have to decide too in their secret meetings, how do we want to handle layoffs versus raise? Where do we want to be for our members? And then also, well, gee, what can we negotiate that's not going to cost any money? Oh, are there working conditions that won't cost much? What can we trade off? Um, I'd have to, let's see, I would want to, as a board, speak to the police chief. I'm using again, I'm sticking with the police union only. It keeps things simple. talk to the police chief and say, what do they want? What what kind of things do they do that they don't like? That's that you could change. What kind of work conditions might be better? Are there um I don't know. I don't know. The select board will wash the cruisers once a month. No. That would be fun, huh? I don't know. What kind of things would improve the working conditions that doesn't cost the budget? Or is of less problems with the budget than that 5% raise that they're not going to get anyways. I'm just making that up, okay? But there's things you trade off that might be worth more than a huge raise. And negotiating that, okay, we're only going to lay off one police officer instead of two. I don't know. You work these things in strategy. Those are strategies on union contracts, not you discuss the whole budget in a strategy session. There's no reason for that. There is no need to discuss the budget in secret, strictly because you have union negotiations. You talk about what the budget is, what the realities are, and you're not showing your hand. You're you can budget low, and negotiating a contract. When you negotiate the contract, there's the final sentence. Well, it's not the final sentence, but it's close to the final sentence. Subject to town meeting vote, subject to appropriation. So if the Board of Selectmen, they do their due diligence and they really fight hard on this contract business, and okay, we got to give the cops 2%. We don't have the money in the budget, but they come up with something for that. That doesn't mean the budget is overspent and they're screwed. That means they have to put on their communicator hat, which none of them have a very good one. They determine later, okay, how bad is this? Okay, there might be things to save them later. But at some point between the union contract being settled and the winter special town meeting, they can figure out different things that they can play with on the budget. And they can go back to special town meeting and reassess the budget or talk to departments and say, we need to make some cuts somewhere else. In which the department heads are going to know this. And town administrators should be having at least one department head meeting a month. And so they're talking about this. And then they may have to really publicize what happened and say, look, we need money. We did negotiate fairly as much as good as we could with the unions, but this is how it turned out. And we just couldn't do anything better. And we asked the town to either do a small override in order to pay for the employees, and there's demonstrated work, not behind closed doors and secret meetings that are illegal. There's a lot that you can do. After the fact, you negotiate a contract in good faith. It doesn't have to be perfect. And you can't, if they had come out of, say, if the Board of Selectmen just came up with a contract and said, we're going to give the police 5% and we need an override for that. That's no, that ain't it. But and word gets out, there are secret meetings, both for the union and the town, but word gets out. Not everything about it gets out, but little things leak. And I'm not saying the Board of Selectmen leaks it. I'm saying the police talk about it. The union, they share with their members what's going on, and the cops go home to wifey and boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever, and they say something, and then somebody says something, and then little things come out, and it explains whether things are going well or not. Or, oh, they only offered us 1%. That goes quickly. That will spread. But the town, some people will get the word. It wouldn't be everybody in town hearing this, but things leak. So we'd know over the course of several months whether it was a good faith effort, or whether the select board just gave them everything. I think that happened a few years ago, that they gave them everything, but they can't do it this time. But that's how you negotiate. That's what strategy is. Not this, you go into executive session to do the budget so that you can, no. This whole thing, I'm really excited. I'm disappointed. Like, I have mixed feelings. I mean, I'm so glad the Attorney General agreed with me. But people are really mad. And she's going to be even more mad after this video. But the Board of Selectmen have got to release the executive session minutes from this meeting. I didn't file executive session complaints about other meetings that they had because I had no evidence that they did the same stunt. But I think I probably could have come up with it, but I wasn't doing repeat complaints over the same issue back then. I had things going on. So this executive session minutes is going to come out, and I'm going to do a video, hopefully do a video on that. And so that the townspeople can see what the hell happened last spring. But I think this will provide us with a little bit of transparency. But that's what we need here. And the lack of transparency is what caused that problem with town meeting going from May 6th to June something or other. And we still don't have, nobody has a warm fuzzy about, do we have a real budget? I don't know. I think there's still a lot of issues, even aside from the union negotiations, because those executive sessions in the spring that are continuing, even, I don't know how much of it has to do with the union negotiations or just the budget. So I think they're misusing executive session all over the place. That's just my opinion. It's not an accusation. If I have an accusation, I'll be doing another open meeting law complaint and let the Attorney General figure it out. So that's my news for tonight. And I'm going to try to get this video up. I've gone over my hour. I like to stay under. And I was babbling because I had that brain fart. I just couldn't what was I going to say? And then I lost track of my thoughts. Having a cold gives foggy brain. You know what? That I just lost my train of thought twice on the same topic. Oh, wow. But yes, there's no reason. There was no reason. There's no reason that they should have even done that with the executive session to talk about the budget. It made no sense because it's not been done before. This town has gotten through union negotiations and budget stuff simultaneously for years, decades even. Why this year? That's a good question. Why? Whatever, I'm not buying. I mean, if Labor Council said that, bad legal advice. And that's the name of this video, I think. Bad legal advice. Yep, on open meeting law. So, okay, let's call it an evening. My nose is getting stuffy again. I need to, oh, God. I need to do something here. But I'm going to get this video up. I'm going to, I forgot what it's called, but I'm going to put it up so you can comment. Of course, you're not going to know I'm saying this until it's over because we're at the end. Okay, so that's how this goes. All right. Where's the music? Maestro, where are we? Is this it? Nope, this one. Okay. Oh. That is strange. It is not working. Huh. Do I have any music? Uh-oh. Is there any audio? That would be funny. If I did this whole video and there's no audio. Why isn't that working? I'm going to try this again. There it is. Doesn't it feel like you never know what's going on in that building behind me? Okay, let's see. End recording. Have a good one. See you on the next video, and there's going to be another one very soon.